Hey everyone, welcome to Talks of Thailand. My name is Jon. Today's story is about a man whose honeymoon in Thailand caused him to reevaluate his life. Seeking excitement, he threw caution to the wind, throwing everything into a new life in Thailand, which ultimately cost him everything. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give the video a like. Let's get in to today's story. It wasn't even me that chose to go to Thailand in the first place. It was my then fiancée before we were married, when we were looking for places to go on our honeymoon before the inevitable marriage happened. The wedding was being planned and had been planned for a long time, doing everything the way that she wanted and what my family wanted. I suppose I was pressured in a way to get married, following on what was supposedly the traditional path. Get married, have kids, have a job, start a family, buy a house, and do everything that you're meant to do. Even though no one can really clearly tell you why you're meant to do the things like that and why you're meant to do them in the first place. You just are, apparently, and you do them without hesitation, because if you don't, your life won't go according to plan. At least that's what they say, isn't it? I was 36 when I was getting married, she was 32, and we'd been together for over 7 years when the wedding day came, and I suppose in a way I was just delaying the inevitable. She wanted to get married as soon as we met, my family wanted the same thing, and although I felt like I wanted it, I always found reasons to put it off, and I always found reasons to say next year, and I kept saying that all the time. When it got to this point though, it was like now or never, and you have to get married, and it was going to happen. It was a couple of months before the wedding when we started looking for places to go on our honeymoon. I desperately wanted to go to India. I'd been once before and I loved it, Goa in particular. I was also interested in Sri Lanka. I was interested in what I could consider exotic locations. I am not saying I wasn't interested in Thailand because I was. It was on the list. It was my fiancé, though, who talked about Thailand to such length, going to a place called Phuket. That kind of sold me on the idea, and I thought if she wants to go, I'll go, and let's just get on with it. So we booked the honeymoon and counted down to the wedding. When I was standing there about to get married in the church, part of me felt like I was happy, and I was doing the right thing, and I was doing what was expected of me. When you're doing something that's expected of you, is it that you think that it's going to fix all the problems that you might have? Is it because you think that you're doing the right thing? I don't know. But I felt like I really was doing the right thing, though there was a part of me that was just clawing at me in some way, in some kind of way, that it just didn't feel right. It was only a very negligible feeling. It was only marginal. It wasn't the overarching feeling of the day, just part of me. And I suppose I did ask myself a number of times throughout the day, are you sure you are doing the right thing? Are you sure this is right? In a way, I felt like I was throwing away my life. Although I was already 36 and had spent the best years of my life, my 20s and early 30s, just kind of following the same path that I was on now. This was kind of solidifying that path. It was a thought of solidifying that path into something real and something that was not easy to get out of that I suppose terrified me in this little kind of way. When you say the vows and everything seems to be going great and you register the marriage, that's when you kind of feel like all those remaining hopes that you might have had, all those remaining dreams, all those remaining exciting thoughts that had stayed with you throughout the years that you weren't ever fading away, but in a way they lay dormant as life went by. It was like all of a sudden, all these potential things that you could do with life, all these other things that were available to you, now became even less available, and you kind of looked at your life moving forwards from there. And I don't know what it was, but looking at my life ahead at that point, it just felt like everything was coming to a head and this was it. My life was very predictable from there, like it was going to follow a predefined path and there was nothing that I could do about it apart from accept it, take it, get on with it, and just be glad that my family seemed happy, my now wife seems happy, and if that's okay, we're going to have kids soon, and let's just follow the normal path and forget about any childish or stupid unrealistic dreams that might have still laid there dormant in my mind. That's me when I'm getting married. Thailand was where we were going for the honeymoon, as is quite obvious based on what I said right at the start, and based on the fact that I'm telling you a story about what happened to me in Thailand. When we arrived there, we were just going to be spending 2 days in Bangkok, staying in a luxury hotel along Sukhumvit Road, right in the heart of the city back in 2012. Then, we were going to spend 2 whole weeks in Phuket, again in a luxury resort, private pool, views of the ocean, opulent luxury. It was meant to send us off into the world, and that's why people go on honeymoon, I guess. I didn't know what to expect by going there. As I said, it wasn't my first choice, though I was happy to go. I was glad to go. I wouldn't have chosen anywhere else, based on the fact that my then wife seemed very happy about it. I wouldn't have chosen anywhere else and had her less happy. That's what I'm trying to say. If it was just up to me and her happiness didn't matter to me, we wouldn't have been there. We touched down in Bangkok 2012, and the first impressions I had were like I didn't get the hype, because around then Thailand was starting to be hyped up as a very popular place to go to. There were lots more people going then than they were in the past, and it would become a huge tourist destination, as we all know. But I didn't really get what all the fuss was. The airport looked very similar to lots of other airports that I'd been to before. I did a lot of travelling, never to Thailand, just a number of other places in Asia, and it just felt very modern, it felt very slick, and you didn't feel like the Thai feel that you would later learn as you travelled around to different places. It just didn't feel anything special. It felt like a modern airport could be anywhere. We had the hotel come and collect us or arrange the transport for us to get there. This was Thailand in style, luxury limo, and I guess we probably weren't arriving in Thailand in your typical Thailand way like many people do. We had a sign waiting for us, and we jumped into this big Mercedes S-Class. Later, I learned that things like that in Thailand cost a fortune, and we jump in the back, we're in love and I suppose happy with each other, and I'm not thinking I've made a mistake or anything at that moment. Those thoughts that were thoughts would come, they were back in my mind in the UK. Now I'm happy and this is a great kind of thing, completely oblivious to the fact that you're going to go home soon and this is going to be, as it is forever in a way, kind of one thing that arrived me in the world. So we got to the hotel after spending probably an hour driving there, and I can remember because this is something that happened a number of times, after getting off the big tollway thing that they had in Bangkok. It seems to snake all over the city, though you arrive at this street, which you will later learn is called Sukhumvit Road, after queuing for 20 minutes in the left-hand lane of the tollway just to get off it, and that's when you hit the streets. That's when you hit this supposedly famous part of Bangkok, and the first thing that stunned me was it didn't feel like I imagined it would feel. I suppose it just felt all dizzy in a way, it felt chaotic, it felt, I don't really know the right word to describe it, it was like nondescript, like what is all the fuss about? We were both smiling and happy and excited and looking out of the window, and it was like we were seeing something new and something different, but it wasn't striking me as the kind of wonderful place that many people painted it as being. Another 20 minutes later, we arrived at the hotel on the same side of the road, very close to Asok, I believe it was. We get the door opened for us in the car, get out, the bags are taken for us, and you're treated extremely well by the people, especially when you're spending a lot of money in Thailand. You're treated so well. And you suppose you're thinking, well, how much are these people earning? Not a lot. Anyway, we gave them a tip, got up to the room, and that was all set up nicely with flowers and a little card and some chocolates, and they really made an effort, and it was 5-star luxury, and they did it very well. I guess we just spent time those first 2 days in Bangkok. We did one little excursion around, and by this point, I'm noticing little things that I am really loving. When you've been there for a while and you get over the flight, and you go on the SkyTrain somewhere, of course, that wasn't what we did often. We were in limos because we were there for this opulent experience, and we were going to and from a few different places in Bangkok, and I'm loving it. Having a good time. We're both having a good time, and we're happy with how things are going. Feeling like it was a great decision to go to Thailand. Nothing changed me as of yet, though. Nothing made me question myself to such an extreme that I wanted out of what I was doing. Not at all. That didn't come yet. We're only there for 2 days in Bangkok, a wonderful time again, and we were thinking and talking about where are we going to go on a holiday next year. It wasn't like Thailand was it yet, though we got another limo to a different airport that they had in Bangkok for the internal flight to Phuket. That was where we were going to be spending most of our time, just relaxing, not really doing excursions or trips, though we would do a few. We just wanted to lounge around in opulence and luxury, eating nice food and drinking nice drinks, doing what you did on honeymoon. We arrived in Phuket, again had a limo come and pick us up from the hotel, and it was a beautiful island, a really stunning island, and it's just, the happiness feeling of we're in love and everything's great. You arrive at the hotel and it's a very similar experience to being checked into the one in Bangkok. You're met by people who treat you so well, always smiling, never complaining about what they're doing and putting you first all the time. Very Thailand-like, and that's one of the things that they do great there. They treat you so well, they respect you. Well, that's the question. Do they really respect you, or do they respect your money? Well, I'm getting very tired and sceptical now before I've even begun here, though that's very basically the thing, isn't it? Do they respect you, or the money you bring? Over the course of the next 3 days, we didn't really leave the hotel. They had a number of restaurants there, a number of different pools there, and just the height of luxury, staying in a nice suite. It was expensive though, but that's what you're there for. The view of the ocean was spectacular, the little private pool outside that nobody could see because it was all built up around, and we decided, though, on our third or fourth night to go out and hit the town of Phuket, go and have a couple of drinks outside and enjoy that side of it and see what it was like. At this point, we decided to use a normal taxi, which the hotel did arrange, and we arrived in Patong. It was interesting, I suppose, because when you're cordoned off in a luxury hotel, you don't know what to expect when you get out of the hotel into the real Thailand. We'd been around Bangkok, but only to very specific places, and only for short amounts of time. So we arrived there, and the contrast between that place and the luxury hotel was huge. It was, though, exciting, vibrant, very kind of vibrant place, as cliché as that might sound. And we ended up doing a bit of a walk around, and we happened upon the street, again, not knowing what it was called, and not knowing what happened there, not knowing anything about it. There were lots of lights flashing up and down the street, lots of guys walking up and down, and you'd see the odd girl, and then we'd both look at each other and thought, well, I suppose this is what Thailand is known for. When I was growing up, Thailand was a very kind of place that people thought, oh, I know why you're going to Thailand. That was always the case, wasn't it, when I was growing up, and it was getting out of that reputation. We saw that street and thought, well, that's interesting, and had a bit of a laugh with each other, and I'm thinking I'd love to go and have a look at what it's like, and take my wife with me, and perhaps we'll talk about this and when we're over our drinks and having some drinks, and let's see if she wants to go and have a look. We made it to this restaurant and hadn't picked anywhere out yet, just found somewhere that looked good, had a nice meal, affordable prices, really affordable, and even Phuket was affordable by what we're used to from back at home, and we're having a few drinks and, walking back in the same direction, and I said to my wife, do you want to go and have a look in one of those places? Let's see what they're like. We're in Thailand, you've got to at least check it out once. She was very open-minded. I mean, I knew she would say yes because we did things like that together, and, we have to experience it once. When I say we did things like that together, I'm talking about when we were doing something. If something is famous, it's in a bit, seedy, then yeah, we will have a look, but just once, only once. It wasn't the be-all and end-all. It wasn't something we did all the time. I'm not trying to say that. But she said yes, let's go and have a look, and we had a bit of a laugh again and a chuckle with each other, and that's where we walked up, Bangla Road. Number of places around, and we just picked one that seemed the same as all the others. Let's just go in there. It was behind a closed door, and we walked in, and well, you're hit with the atmosphere straight away. Really loud music playing, a couple of girls, or a lot of girls, beautiful girls. My wife looks at me and smiles and thinks, let's have a few drinks, let's take it in. That's what you do, isn't it? You sit down, and then this lady comes over, what do you want to drink? We get some drinks. It was pretty expensive in there, I suppose, because of what was going on. And we're having the drinks and talking, and this girl who just, came over, she was wearing a bikini, and I don't know what it was, but she kind of rubbed up against me on purpose when my wife wasn't looking and smiled at me, and I was just thinking, that was fun. But I was also thinking, glad my wife didn't see it. It was nothing more than that, but I'm just looking, thinking, well, I could get very used to this. Seeing a guy inside there who looked very similar to me in terms of appearance, in terms of everything about him, and I'm looking at him and thinking, imagine being here as a single person and not having any connections, and imagine being able to do this all the time. Those were very brief thoughts, though. It's not like it's overtaken me, like I need to do this and I need to change my life completely. Because I found this amazing bar in Thailand, that's not the case at all. I was just loving the freedom of it and the excitement of it. But I have a wife now. We'd been together a long time, and ever since we met, it wasn't like this kind of exciting physical thing. It was there, though. Of course it was, but it just didn't seem like it felt in Thailand. This is just what I'm thinking, and, we had another drink and we left, and I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get the thought of that bar and how great it looked out of my head as we were walking in the other direction, out of the street, to go and get a drink in another, more respectable place. We went to get a cocktail each at this place, which looked okay, had a few drinks there, were a bit tipsy, and we returned to the hotel. All I'm thinking about, and I don't know why I am, because it was just a bar, I'm just thinking about that bar and that girl that rubbed against me and imagining what that guy who was in there as a single person must be feeling, because he was not in any way connected to anybody. He didn't have to behave in a particular way, because that was just what was expected of him. Then I'm thinking back to the tiny little doubts that I had when I was getting married. Again, nothing big or anything major, nothing huge, but I'm thinking back to all those things that I was thinking before, and thinking, well, perhaps the niggles were right. I'm not saying I was miserable or unhappy and wishing I wasn't married, because I wasn't. I thought everything was okay, and we just continued with our holiday, and I'm trying to think of a way to go back and have another look. Not as the be-all and end-all, though I just wanted to go back and look, then go the following day, and we went to Baton the following night. My wife said she'd just prefer to stay and dine at one of the restaurants right close to Patong, but not actually in the city close to Bangla Road, and that was okay with me. And we just went there and went back to the hotel and lounged around and spent some time on the beach, and that was fine. That was happy, it was fun, but I was sort of ready to go back for another look. It was 2 days later when she said she wanted to go back to Patong proper that time, not just close by. Go to the street, not necessarily to that street, but I sort of hoped that we would be able to go there. So we found ourselves having something to eat, a few drinks in a different place, maybe have a look at the beach which was close by, and we're enjoying ourselves. Ultimately though, what happened though, we did arrive, we had something to eat there, we walked past that street, and I said, "Do you fancy another look?" in a half-joking way, hoping she would say yes, but she said no, and I just kind of forgot about it. I just had another look up the street, and it just looked like a street of wonder and excitement, and I really wanted to go there and have another look. I really wanted to go inside the bars, and I wanted to so badly. But we didn't. We couldn't because of her, and never mind. She doesn't want to. I can't push it. And then we left back to the hotel, and another couple of days go by, and all of a sudden, my wife doesn't feel well at all. She must have picked up a bug or something, and she was very upset, and I was upset, because we were only there for, I think we had about a week left, something like that. She's in bed because she's not well, and she's saying, if you want to go out, you can. This was after she'd been not well for 2 days, on the mend, but yeah, not ready to leave. On the other hand, though, she just kept saying, just go out if you want to, and I want to sleep. I think she wanted some peace and quiet, and she didn't want me to bother her. And it was like she wanted me to go out. And after 2 days of her not being well, she just kind of pushed me out, and that was great. She said she wanted a bit of peace, and so because of that, it was probably the words she used that actually made it possible for me to go out. Give me some peace. I want some peace. Reluctantly, though, I said, okay, I'll go and have a look around town again. She had no idea that I would ever do anything, and I had no idea that I would ever do anything, and although it was in my mind, I'll go and have a look at that street again and spend a bit of time there. That was it. That was all I was thinking. It was just an idea. So I headed out of the hotel and let her have some relaxation time, and she said thank you for going. So it wasn't like I wanted to go out and she wanted to stop me, it was the other way round. I headed back to Patong. I went to get something to eat, just having a look around. Lots of guys who were single there, and in a way, I was envious, because they were like not attached to something. I was attached to my wife who was in the hotel. I don't know, I was having something to eat, had a couple of drinks, and I just thought, go on, have another look at that street. When am I ever going to have a chance to look at it again, as a guy with nobody with him? I found it again, went into a different bar, had a drink, and of course, because I was there alone, I was getting lots of attention from the girls, and it was kind of like I knew it was wrong, and that's why it felt so exciting. Kind of like you're a kid at school doing something you shouldn't be doing, and you know it's wrong, but that's why you want to do it. I suppose that was just me, but I had a couple of drinks in a different place, and I'm getting a bit drunk, and I'm thinking I should go back. But she did say she didn't want me to be there. She wants me to spend some time out so she can have some time alone. So that's how I justified staying. That's how I justified it with myself. And I kept thinking, one more drink and one more drink. I found myself in that place where I went with my wife the first time. Just like I was being pulled back there, and I went in and I saw that girl straight away. She doesn't recognise me at all, but I recognised her, and somehow it just happened. After I had another drink on the table, and this old lady comes over and asks me a question, would you like to speak to any of the girls? It just happened that I kind of, without even thinking about it, said yes, her. I pointed across. I wasn't thinking to say that, it just came out of my mouth without thinking. She comes over, sits next to me, reaches out her hand, nice to meet you, where are you from? She didn't recognise me, which was lucky, I suppose, and I'm just talking to her and just thinking it's a bit of innocent fun. She gets a drink and it's nice to meet you too. She says, I'd heard about lots of things and I don't know, where are you from? All these kinds of questions. I wasn't even thinking about my wife. Then it's like it was my first time in Thailand. I knew it was, and when I was thinking about all this typical bar talk that happens later on, you don't know what it's like. You don't know it's typical. And although she doesn't speak English very well, she's trying her best. She was in her early 20s. I can remember saying that she was from Bangkok, she said, and I didn't realise that was quite unusual at the time, because I had no idea. She was from Bangkok, and why are you living in Phuket? Just working here, she said. My friend came to work, and she said she went with her friend. This one, my friend. And her friend comes over, reaches out her hand. Nice to meet you too. Can you buy a drink for my friend? Okay. Where's your friend from? She's from Buriram. I can't honestly remember which town in Isan she was from. I really can't. But it was Isan. I remember that because they said Isan a few times. I'm asking why you're friends, and they couldn't really answer it. I don't know. It didn't really matter. But I bought a drink for her, and I'm speaking to two girls, and I've got one girl on one side and one girl on another, and it's just like this amazing, exhilarating feeling that I don't know what to even make of it. It's so good. Then it was about 5 minutes later, this other guy walks in, and this girl, who was the friend of the girl who had come over for a drink after the first one. Oh, I know that man, he's my friend, and I go speak to him, and she just left. Obviously, she made some money out of the drink, though in a way, I was left with the girl that I was there originally to hopefully see, and somehow I felt like I was there to see, and we're chatting away. I'm just going with it and I'm loving it, kind of like I knew it was wrong, and that's why I kept doing it. Then this old lady comes over again, and all I've heard about after 3 drinks, maybe more, and she's had a couple of drinks too. She told me that she likes me, and that's what the old lady said. She said it, and she likes you. What do you know? Would you like to go and spend more time with her? I didn't really know what to expect. We ordered some more drinks though, and when she went to go and get them, she came back again and said, oh, she likes you, and she's kind of trying to insinuate something. Eventually, I knew what she meant, but, you're hearing those words for the first time, it's quite remarkable. Then she said she wants to go with you, and, what do you mean? I said, although I had already picked up on what was going on. And just without thinking, I was saying yes, and deep down knowing that was what that meant, but also thinking yes, because I'm saying yes, it doesn't actually mean I'm going to be going. Before long, though, the bill's brought over, and it's got more on top of it than the drinks, and she's off getting changed, and I wait for her and she's coming. I didn't stop and think, no, stop now, I can't do that. I didn't think that at all. I just thought, well, okay, surely I'll wake up from this dream, or surely something will happen, and she will stop getting ready and stop coming to see me, and I'm not thinking anything. I'm just thinking it's going to stop automatically by itself. It continued up until the point where she's there, she's got her clothes on, she's got her bag, and we're about to leave the bar, and it didn't stop. When we were walking back down Bangla Road, it didn't stop. She said, where's your hotel? I said, it's a long way away. She said, don't worry, I know a place. It didn't stop when we got to the hotel, and well, I was in 2 minds about 2 hours later. 2 minds about everything. On the one hand, I just had the best experience with a girl that I'd ever had, and I'm not trying to be rude or unfair to my wife, but it was better than every single experience I'd have with her ever since I'd met her, and I'm sold on the idea of Thailand and the idea that that's who I'm meant to be. On the other hand, I felt absolutely awful and guilty for doing what I did. Yet, it was just that experience that was when, the start of the end of my marriage, I suppose. When we both left the hotel together, she said she's going back to the bar and asked if I wanted to go for a drink. I said no, I'll just go back to where I'm staying. When we parted ways, I was in 2 minds, amazing, a wonderful time, yet feeling guilty that I'd just done that to my wife who was sick in bed. I made it back there and my wife was feeling a bit better. She woke up and said, thank you for giving me some space. I do feel a bit better. Maybe tomorrow we can do something, and let's do something. That's it. When we woke up, she was feeling better. Not 100% yet, though. We just kind of got on with the rest of the day and the rest of the next couple of days. And we made it back to Bangla Road once, and she said, let's go and have another look. Obviously made it kind of absolutely clear that I didn't want to go into the same place again, for any obvious other reasons. Let's go somewhere else. Didn't want to run into that girl, with my wife being there. Not all, but I believe she did that for me just to have a bit of fun, and it wasn't her thing, and I didn't show it was mine. I just felt this feeling inside me that this is not necessarily the bar situation. It was, don't meet a girl in a bar type of thing. It was a situation that a relationship or being with a girl like that seemed to be so different to being with a girl like my wife, who was a woman. It seemed to be so different. Everything was different. It was, I don't know, I can't really put words to it. I can't describe it, because if you're listening to this and you haven't been to Thailand and you don't know what I'm talking about, you might think that I'm being delusional, but that's not the case. It was like you have a woman and you have a woman. On the surface, they're the same thing. They're just not the same thing, though. The girl from Thailand was like, you just can't score it, because I don't like to score people, because I don't do that, but I can't think of the word to use. The girl from Thailand was the girl that you would pick out of your dreams, and my wife was the girl that you just ended up with, because that was what was expected. And it wasn't that you didn't like or love your wife, because you did. I did, in fact. It was that I'm getting older every year, and then I'm going to die, and I'm not going to have what I had and really wanted, which was basically my dream. And which wasn't necessarily a girl from Thailand, but just a girl that behaved and acted and looked exactly like that girl from Thailand, and I think that's what it was, if that makes any sense. When we left Thailand and arrived back home, then we went to meet both our families, and we were given a deposit on a house. I mean, we were in our 30s, though we didn't really have much money. Given a deposit for the house, and I'm just looking ahead at my life and thinking, I'm never going to have something as fun and exciting as I had in Thailand ever again. I'm never going to live like that again. And it was kind of a cruel irony, if you will, because there we are, being helped to set up and focus on our lives, thinking about, I wonder if you're going to have a boy or girl. That's what my mother would say to me. I was like, well, I don't know if I even want that. We ended up getting a house, and I, for some reason, was very fortunate to get this amazing promotion at work, and I started making good money, which was unexpected. She's working, but not making as much money as me, And this goes on through 2012, 2013 and 2014, and then she falls pregnant, and while I'm not giving Thailand much thought, or any thought really at all, I tried to push for Thailand as a place to go on a holiday, but we didn't go. She fell pregnant, then she had a miscarriage, and that really made her suffer, and that really seemed to make her suffer so much mentally. As awful as this might sound though, when she had that miscarriage, I just felt, okay, I'm not 100% trapped yet. I was always thinking I was trapped and not living the life I wanted to live, though I was doing it because that was what was expected, and I suppose when she had that miscarriage, it was very straining on the relationship because it was making me struggle more and her struggle more. It was because of that, let's go away for a bit, and finally Thailand made sense again. Let's go back to where we had a honeymoon, let's rekindle things, and let's get back on track and come back and try again. Although I didn't want to, and I felt safe in a way that I wasn't trapped. I don't know, it was a strange thing. You're living life. You can be living life for months and years, knowing something's wrong, yet not doing anything about it. We were going back to Thailand. This was 2014. Could have been the start of 2015. Let's go and spend some time in Bangkok. Let's go back to Phuket. Let's go to that nice hotel. I saved up some money because of work. I'm not going to spend all of it on the holiday, but let's go and let loose for a few weeks. And we kind of rekindled when we arrived in Thailand, remembering about the times we had before. When we got to Bangkok, though, I'm thinking, I can't wait to somehow go and spend some time in one of the bars again, just to have that. I mean, that's why I was there. That's why I really was there. I wanted that again. I really did. When we arrived in Bangkok, 3 days I believe we spent in Bangkok, just being together, then it was, well, I want to go out and let's go out together, and okay. The problem is, I want to be out by myself, and it's very difficult to get to that point, because how do I be out by myself? It has to be her idea. So we went out around Sukhumvit for a couple of drinks and looking around, and I said, do you fancy going to look in one of those places? I hear this place is even more extreme than where we were in Phuket. We have to go and have a look. Talking about ping pong and things like that. We didn't find that, though she said she'd want to go. So we went to Soy Cowboy, went into a place and people, sort of laughing with each other, and I'm just, felt in this sense of amazingness again. And where I wanted to be, and it wasn't necessarily because I liked the bars or girls that worked in the bars, it was just you're seeing girls that were the sorts of girls in your dreams. We had an okay time, and let's go back to the hotel, we're tired. I just kind of said when we were back in the hotel, let's go and have a couple more drinks, and she said, no, I don't want, and I said, oh, I'm not tired yet. I'm saying I don't want to go and, to go to sleep yet, and she's saying she doesn't want some more drinks. She said then, well, if you want to go out, you can come back in an hour or so. That was her idea. She went back up to the room, and I was like thinking, because it was her idea, that was me free. It was like, wow, I've got that time again. All that thoughts and all that thinking about, I've got it again. I ended up going back to Soy Cowboy into a little different bar, and where it was like, it wasn't the first time. It was like I needed this so much. The problem was it was just as good as the first time, if not better, and I was sold yet again. I felt like I wish my wife was like this. I wish I had a wife that acted like this. That's what I was thinking. Why can't my wife be like this? Why is my life like it is? It wasn't that I didn't get on with my wife, or we weren't necessarily happy. I mean, we were struggling through what had happened with the miscarriage, but it just wasn't fun. It's not what I wanted, and that was proof that I wasn't living the life I wanted. Because of that, when I returned back to the hotel, my wife was there a couple of hours later. It was just, I don't know, it was a drag. I couldn't work it out, because it wasn't what I wanted. I knew at that moment that I didn't want what I had. I wasn't happy. I knew it. I knew hand on heart that it was all wrong. Anyway, the end of the holiday came. I made it to Bangla once when we were in Phuket, by myself once, and had another amazing experience, the time of my life. Then we're back home, and it was about 6 months until we got divorced, and it was like everything that was wrong. I was trying to elevate it. I wanted it to be her idea. I was weak. I was too weak to make it my idea. I wanted it to be her idea to get a divorce, and, we tried our best, I suppose. But I wasn't trying my best. She was. Or maybe she wasn't. Maybe she wanted a divorce too. Maybe she didn't feel the same way about me, but I don't know. When we got divorced, that was when my family was very upset with me. You're not meant to do this, they said. You're meant to stay together. They were religious sorts of people, and, you're meant to stick it out. What about happiness, I would say. They would look at me, well, that doesn't matter. But to me it did. Of course it did. We got divorced, got rid of the house that we had the deposit for. The family saying, can I have it back? No, you can't. You gave it to us. I would say we had about 50 grand each, which was not a lot of money when you're approaching 40. I just felt this sense of freedom, though, come over me, and I thought to myself, well, go back to Thailand. Just like that, I went back. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalised, I was in Thailand, and I'd quit my job, not to go and live in Thailand, just to go and have a month to really live everything that I'd missed out on throughout my life. That's what I wanted more than anything. I can remember getting back to Bangkok, and I can remember feeling euphoric as I went to Soy Cowboy again. I went into a bar and met a girl, and this is the best time ever, and I wasn't there to meet anybody, although I was already picturing myself with the beautiful Thai girl as a wife. That was what I was picturing myself being ever since I was sort of in Thailand the first time. That would be the dream. And now this dream could be a reality. And I'd just come out of my marriage, and it wasn't that I didn't want to be married. It was that I didn't want a relationship like that. I wanted it to be real, and me having it like I wanted it. I don't know what it was, though. It just felt amazing. It felt like a dream. The dream was becoming a reality, and then I'm in Thailand. The dream is real. I would say I'd been in Bangkok for about a week when I found this other little bar area. And I kind of met a girl in one of those bars, and we kind of hit it off straight away. She was in her early 20s, picture-perfect beauty, exotic, exciting, and just everything that you would dream that your girl would be, and that's what she was. But she was better than that. She was just perfect. Picture-perfect. We hit it off in the bar and spent some time together, and she stayed the night, and I'm thinking to myself, why couldn't my wife be like this? Why was my wife so boring? Why was she like who I was in woman form, I suppose, I think. I think that's the most accurate way that anyone could describe it. My ex-wife was like me in woman form. And you go to and you meet friends who are in England and he's married, or they're married to his wife, and his wife is like him in woman form. Maybe the woman would say the man is her in man form, though I would say that's wrong. The man is, the breadwinner. The man is this, the man is that. The man is whatever you want it to be. The woman is the opposite of that. Everything in England, it seemed to be like, and I think that's the best way to describe it, so I'm going to have to say it again. The woman is like the man in woman form. In Thailand, the woman is not like that. The woman is like a real woman. The woman is like a dream. The woman is like everything. The following day, in Thailand for another 3 weeks at this point, no plans to go anywhere. I was going to go to the beach. I wanted to go somewhere else. But I thought I'd wanted to spend more time with her. Let's spend the day together. And I'm just loving her company, and she's just there to please. She's everything. And I was thinking that I'd just married the wrong woman from the wrong country. We spent the day together and the night, and, based on how easy things were, I didn't think anything of anything. Would you like to go to the beach with me? It was just so easy to say. I wanted to go to Koh Samui. I'd heard it was beautiful. She said, let's go, and I was having to give her a bit of financial support because I had to understand that she came from a very poor place, and that's why she needed the support. So she went to Koh Samui with me, like it was nothing. When I'm with her, the first couple of nights in the hotel, I'm not thinking I want to go out. I'm not thinking I want anything other than to be with her, because it's exciting enough, it's fun enough, and it's everything enough to not want anything else. Then, flashback to my first wife, I wanted to be anywhere but with her, because it wasn't exciting to be with her. It wasn't like it was fun enough. It was like it was just this static relationship that is a relationship because it's meant to be one, and that's it. With my new girl, I'm finding that I am, falling in love with her, and at this point I'd only known her for a week by the time we'd spent a few days in Koh Samui, and I felt much more love and affection to her than I'd felt for my real wife before. Ever since I'd been with her, and for any of the other women that I'd spent time with in my life, it felt so much better to be with her, so exciting, that I believed I wanted to be with her really, and I felt like I needed that. And she just seemed to want what I wanted, which is exactly what any guy wants, isn't it? I didn't have that job anymore, and I wanted to, didn't really know what my plans were, had no idea. Move back home, move somewhere else, try and get back on speaking terms with the family because they were angry, and do that. And I'm thinking maybe I'll take her with me. I didn't know how difficult visas were at that point. I did look into that soon. After Koh Samui, though, we went back to Bangkok, and at this point, it was like we were an item. It was like we were exclusive, although it wasn't spoken about or talked about. It was like she's mine, she's my girlfriend now. I would call her my girlfriend, and she would call me her boyfriend. And we talked about, I need to go back to England soon and let's sort something out. I'll try and get you a visa or whatever we were thinking about. She said, that's fine, and she'll stop working in the bar. And it was, I don't know, I've heard this time and time again. I don't want you to work in the bar, that's what I said to her. I don't want you to work in the bar because I love you. Why don't you go and stay with your family for a bit? She had a kid living with her family in Korat, and I knew nothing about Isan apart from what I'd learned about before, which was not much. That would come later. She was from there, go and stay there, I'll go back home, and I'll try and put a plan into place. Obviously, we'd already exchanged contact details, we were already exclusive, we were already past the point of thinking about anything else, and I thought it was just wonderful, heart-wrenching when I had to go back home though. I can remember, this is just talking about the past again, but I can remember when I had to go away with work one time for a week, leaving my then wife before we were even married, and feeling this sense of freedom that I was going to not be with her for a week. I can remember that feeling. Yet with her it was the opposite. I didn't want to be apart from her, and that told me everything I think it needed to tell me. It told me that I was in love, everything was right, and this was meant to be it. This was life, I needed her. And getting back home, I'm just, restless. I'm on edge thinking about what am I meant to do, not knowing much about Thailand, but starting to learn a little bit more. I'm spending time on forums, reading what people do. Then I'm looking into a visa firm. Speaking every day. I miss you so much. She's crying, I'm crying. Literally, I'm crying because I miss her. My family's trying to get me to snap myself together, saying to try to make it work up with my ex-wife, and she's willing to have another go. Talking about my ex-wife all the time, and I'm saying no, and then, to be honest, from there I'd never spoken to my family ever again, not once. It's what it is. It's just one of those things. I'm not prepared to sacrifice my life for what my family thinks is the best thing for me to do, so I never spoke to them again from then. But I'm looking into the visa for her, and I just thought she could come for a couple of months and see what it was like. It was going to be very difficult to do that. She didn't have anything in Thailand, therefore proving she would go back is difficult. She had nothing at all. Then I'm thinking we could get married and bring her here, and that's such a strenuous thing. I don't have a job now, therefore I don't have an income, and I would need to work for 6 months before she could even come back, and it's just very stressful and difficult, because we want to be with each other, because we're in love. We're in so much love that it got to the point where I had found this little agent, a very small agent. Apparently it was just a couple of guys who taught people how to pass that test for the TEFL thing, and I thought I could teach English, and I'm thinking about going and teaching English, and do that for a bit of time. It'll cover a bit of money. I'll get this 50 grand that I've got from the sale of the house and do that, and then look for something else to do, be with her, get married to her, and then maybe you can think about taking her home in the future when you're married and more solidified, and they can't really give you a problem with the visa. Being with her was all that mattered, and she was really excited at the thought of me coming back, which was probably 6 weeks after I'd been back in the UK, so not long at all. Basically, those 6 weeks made me realise that I needed her, and I'd already asked her over the phone to get married to me. I had to say, obviously, I'm completely ignoring certain things which at the time I didn't think were problems. Of course, when I call one time and there's loud music playing in the background and she's saying she's at a friend's wedding getting married, don't worry about it, I'd think okay and believe her. That was nice, I wish I could be there. She said she'd like me to be there too. And then I'm hearing a guy speaking English. Oh, that's just my friend's wife in the village kind of thing. Or my wife's friend or whatever, and I'm just believing everything. Stupid man. Believing she was in the village and probably she was back in the bar working because I wasn't sending her any money because I didn't think I needed to. That's the thing, I didn't think I needed to. I gave her some money when I was with her, I just didn't think I needed to when I was not. She said I didn't need it to, she didn't want me to send it. Perhaps she didn't want me to because she wanted me to come back and she could get more money, I don't know. But I'm thinking, at the time that it's nothing's going on, and everything she says I just believe. I found myself back in Thailand about a week before I was starting this TEFL course, and she was there with me in Bangkok, and I was happy again, really, really happy to the point where nothing else mattered. I started this course, and a month later that's finished. Then I went out to get a different visa from Laos so I could start work. I'd found this job that was giving me a proper work permit. I had a degree and everything, so I could start this job in Bangkok about 2 months after I'd arrived back. We were engaged to get married, we were living in this little rented room, which was a huge downgrade from what I was used to living in, thinking about the luxury that I'd stayed in Thailand in the past too. This was so different. But it didn't matter though, because I would come home after I'd worked, and I would be returning to living a dream. That's the only thing I could say. I was returning to this dream because she did things that girls in my dreams did, and she didn't do it with me asking, she just did it. I just loved it, and I was addicted to it, and I was hooked on it, and I just loved her more than life itself. I loved her more than anything. I would say probably a week after I started working, she said she had to go and visit her family, and she said she can't wait for me to see her family when we're going to get married, which would be soon. That's what I wanted to put off in a way for a few months, just to enjoy being with her for the time being. But she said she had to go and see her family, and I said, okay, that's not a problem. Again, I'm probably just an absolute idiot. When we're speaking, everything seems good, though about the day before she was due to come back, I called her again, and she answered the phone, and she said, oh, I can't speak, I will call you again soon. Something like that. And instead of putting the phone down, she didn't turn it off properly. Then I heard the voice, who was that? An English voice, who was that? She just said, my friend. Him, my friend. Then I said hello again, and well, she realised she hadn't turned it off, and, what's going on? She said, no problem, my friend, and him, my friend, so which one's the friend? She's staying close to my family, he stays with his wife here. And then she turned it off again, I tried to call back, and she didn't answer. And I suppose I was stupid, because I just thought, I'll believe her. And she comes back a day later, and I ask her, what was all that about? She just said up in the village, my friend has her husband from wherever he was from, and he was just having something to eat with us and, talking about things. And, that was it. I was talking about you and how I missed you. And I believed what she said. I thought that sounded fair enough. Other than that, it was just perfect, though. I suppose I was a perfect idiot, but I didn't realise, because my life with her I felt was perfect. I don't know what it was. Who was that guy? Was it just a guy who she was in regular contact with, who was just in Thailand for a week, and she needed to spend some time with him so that she could continue getting sponsorship money from him? That was most likely the case, but at the time I didn't know, and I didn't want to believe it. So I was completely naive. Other than that, though, I believe everything is great. For the next few months it is. It's perfect. I'm giving her, little bits of financial support, though, because it was clear, after we spoke about a number of things, that it was a requirement, and I happily stepped in. I was earning 40,000 baht a month from my job, which I learned was quite a good one. Some people earned less than that, and I gave her 10,000 of that. 3 months later, we were due to go up and get married. We'd already arranged it. It was spoken about. Let's go and speak to the family. Let's get everything arranged. And that was my first time going up to Isan, and I actually really loved it. I loved the place. I loved the nature. I loved the friendly people. I loved how it was just, in a way, going back in time, but in a good way. And the family was so friendly and kind and just thought, genuine, honest people. I suppose some guys won't admit to it, but I will. I agreed to give 500,000 baht to the family for Sinsot, which was a lot of my savings at the time, but I agreed to that because I wanted her to be happy and I wanted them to be happy too. I thought I was just following the cultural norms of what you're meant to do in Thailand, and if they were happy, I was happy, and 2 weeks later we were married. When I said let's go and register the marriage, she said we'll do it soon. It was like for her, the village marriage was everything. Because I was in Thailand, I believed that was the culture and that was the right, and if it's good enough for her, that's good enough for me, so we will sort out registering the marriage soon. So, that was it. The families had some money, and about a month later, we didn't do a honeymoon or anything because I felt like I was already on honeymoon every single second of every single day with her. But about a month later, she said, the family's got a problem. Can we go up and speak to them? I asked her what happened. She said she doesn't really know, but some really big problem. And it wasn't like she wanted money just easily from me, just straight like that. It wasn't like that at all. It was like she wanted me to go up and be with the family when they were talking about their problems to, kind of help out. So we arrived in Isan. We even rented a car for that so we could get there quickly. And she's talking to them, looking very serious on her face, and the family are speaking to her, and I don't know what's going on. She could be saying anything, could be talking about the weather or food or anything. I didn't know. Then she turned to me and said there's a big problem with the fact that they don't have enough money to pay for the pickup. They had this brand new pickup truck outside. I didn't know that they'd used the money I gave them to buy it. I didn't know anything about it. Completely naive at the time. They need some money. Can you give them? I think it was about 300,000 baht. It was an emergency. Otherwise, they're going to lose it. I thought, how awful. And will they pay me back? Yes, don't worry. So I just gave them the money. Based on what I'd spent so far, I had about 50 grand from when we sold our house. I spent 20 so far, and my living expenses were more than I was earning, but I was just going for it because I was happy with her. I thought she was my dream, and she was my dream, and I was living the dream, so I was okay with it. The fact I was living my dream every day, and I'd come back from work, and my dream would happen right in front of me, and that was all I thought life was about. 20 grand handed over, no problem. I'm working. Then we're back in Bangkok, back to work again, and I need to go and see my family, she said once more. I told her I'll go with her, and she said no, I need to go for a week this time. And why? What do you mean? Why can't I go? I was actually off school, by the way. It was a big, long holiday that they had in Thailand for over 2 months. But she said she needed to go by herself because it was like a private family matter. Don't worry about it. Although I didn't see anything this time that I look back on and think that was a huge red flag, I suppose the fact that I tried to call her many times and she didn't answer, claiming bad signal or claiming that the signal service was down in the village, because when I said, how can it be bad signal? Because when I was there, I used the same network and it worked for me. So, no, not bad signal. The problem was whatever it was. The mast. So, I'm just believing it and I'm buying it, in a way, but I'm starting to not. But maybe I am, just completely oblivious. I'm too in love with her. I'm too believing that she's everything to think that she would ever do something negative to me. So the fact that I can't call her for a few days at a time, and not a few days at a time, but like a nightmare of a specific time, I can't call. Well, again, a different guy who was sending money to her. Probably that was the case. She comes back and we're talking and everything is great again, and my dream's alive again. It really is, and it's like swings and roundabouts. I ask how the family was, and they were great, they're really great. But then another month later, the family has another problem. Can we go together again? I think that was the first little bit of a shock. Like, hang on, when they have a problem, I can go. When you're just going to visit them, I can't go. I asked her about that, and she just said it's just culture. She said it's a tradition in Thailand, that's how things work. I suppose if I look back, that's, how far gone I was from reality, and how far gone I was because I just chose to believe it. Because not believing it would have destroyed my life. So I did. I went up with the family because of the problem. The pickup again. They don't have enough to pay it. It's only one more payment. It's another 400,000 back. Can you help? I said, well, the last time I haven't had any of that money back from them. And he said, yeah, they promised. But this is the last time, 400,000. So I gave that to them. Then we start, have to remember that she's absolutely perfect with me. That's the thing. She's my dream every single day. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's not that I'm just not getting anything from her. I'm getting my dream. My dream's happening every single day to the point where one day with her is better than being with my ex-wife, for the whole time we were together. So much more. And the whole time I've been with her, one day with her is better. So that's what it was about. After we did that, though, we're staying a few more days, and bear in mind, no one in the family speaks English, so I can't confirm if she's been there before. I can't confirm that. So whatever, but we start looking around, and then she starts introducing a new idea. Well, I can't wait till I'm older, she would say. I will come and live in the village. I want to have a house here, and I want to grow chilies, and I want to have a little garden, and I was really attracted to that idea. I didn't have much money left, about 20 grand probably. I was given, most of it to her. Luckily, though, I had an extension of stay based on working in Thailand from the job I had, and that meant I didn't need money in the bank for the visa. At this point, I'd already transferred the rest of my money to Thailand. It just felt like it was more secure there. I said, it sounded good. Her idea to have this thing in the future. And I'm still working. I'm saying perhaps this could be in 10 years. And she said, yep, that sounds great. Then she said she needed to show me something. What do you want to show me? Oh, just some land, that's all. That's for sale. It was something along those lines. And, this is what I want for the future, she said. She didn't say she wanted it now at all. I promise she didn't say that. She said it was for the future. All the time, the future, the future. The future, this is perfect, this will be perfect. We arrived at this little bit of land. Again, we hired a car to go up there. Look how beautiful it is, she said. And to me, I didn't say anything special about it. It was just a normal piece of land. It was a quarter of an acre, I would say, thereabouts, which I don't know what that is in Thai terms. I never got my head around the Thai land sizes. So maybe just under a rai. A couple of trees on it, and it was, already raised. They had rice land around it, and she said, it's beautiful. Only 600,000 baht, she said. I did the calculations. It was about 15 grand. I mean, I had 800,000 baht in the bank, about, therefore or take. Very beautiful land, and I knew as a foreigner I couldn't own it. Well, I told her, yes, it is beautiful. In the future, we'll be able to get something like this. And she just said, when a girl looks at you with those eyes as if to indicate, I can make your wildest dreams come true, but only conditionally. Why don't you just buy it now? Then we can have it, and then we know it's there, and then we know the next step we can build a wall around it, and the next step we can do this, and it didn't take much convincing, did it? Oh, okay, let's stay for a few more weeks, she said, and let's buy it. That land went into her name. Of course, my dream was coming true every single second of every single day when I was with her, and now we had this land. I say we, but we didn't, she had it. Then we're back in Bangkok at this point, and I'm working, and I'm happy, and she's not getting a lot of money out of me, just 10,000 a month. We've got to the point now where I can live off the teacher's salary, and we're putting away 5,000 baht a month for 3 whole months in a row. And this is, what we're doing. We're talking about the house. That's the thing, a house in the future. We need so much. And if I can put away 5,000 baht a month, how can we have a house in 10 years? Maybe a tiny one, because we're not going to have saved that much. And how far gone was I? 10 years' time working for a tiny little house. And I was willing to work for that because my dream was coming true every day. Then it happened again. Oh, the family has a problem. Though you don't need to go. You can, do too much already. This time it was a problem and she didn't want me to go. But she said, I need to go and fix it. She said this on a Friday. And I think, well, I'll just come for 2 days and I'll come back to work on Monday. But she said, no, it's okay. I need to go myself. It's a different problem. I asked why. I'm not thinking anything negative still. Still not thinking. Not thinking anything whatsoever is going wrong. But I did ask, why can't I go? I'm your husband. She just said, no, it's okay, I'll go myself, and she kept insisting. And well, again, she went, and I suppose, when I say my dream comes true, that's the only way I can say it without sounding, like a pig or whatever, but she made my dream come true yet again before she left, and I allowed it because of that. She leaves, early evening on Friday, and I went to bed a bit uneasy because I didn't want to be without her. That's what I was thinking, I don't want to be without her. On Saturday, I couldn't contact her until the evening, and she called and said, well, she'll be back on the following weekend, don't worry, everything's good. But I just couldn't sleep all that Saturday, couldn't sleep all night, and about 4 a.m, I just decided I'm going to go up and surprise her in the village. I knew where it was now, I'd driven there, I believe 3 or 4 times in a rented car, been on the bus a few times, and I just decided to go and rent a car. The place that we used, which was like a small family-run place, 24 hours they were open, and again, why I'm talking about that I don't know, though I just loved how everything was open all the time in Thailand. So I go and get this car very early in the morning, probably 6 or 7 a.m, to drive up to Korat. A couple of hours later, when I get to the village after arriving in Korat, went straight to the family's house. I even took some flowers with me to surprise her. And the family, don't speak any Thai. I've got basic Thai, I say, sweaty cap and whatever you want to say, looking around for my wife, or my village wife, because we weren't legally married yet. Where is she? The family are saying, what do you mean? I mean, it's like we can't really translate. But it was clear, though, that she wasn't there. And I wanted confirmation. But I knew that in the village shop, the guy who worked there spoke very, very basic English. So I went to the shop and asked him if he could help. I come to look for my wife. I cannot find her and her family doesn't understand any English. Can you come with me? Luckily, he did. We go back to the family's house and, it turns out she's not even there. She's not even been there once for a while. What do you mean she's not here? Where is she? Then I'm calling her and she's not answering. Her family's calling her and she's not answering. And I think that was the time that it actually might have hit me. She just lied to me. She's not here. Where is she? Really, I didn't know. When she finally answered, I told her, I'm with your family. Where are you? I came to surprise you. And she didn't say anything for a little bit. Why you go there? You stupid man. Why you go there? I tell you don't need problem. I tell you no problem. I have to sort problem with family. Then I said, I'm with your family. But she said, no, I talk about my aunt. What aunt? You've never spoken about your aunt before even once. My aunt stay in Pattaya. I need help her. Then that guy is there who speaks English. Can you ask her family? Does she have an aunt? Her father's looking really quite angry. Not at me, like, what's going on? They were just respectable people, and her father was just about to say something, and her mother said, yes. Said something to this guy, and he says, yeah, her aunt stays in Pattaya. Her mother's sister, apparently it was. So whatever it was, I don't know. Her father, this guy, looked at me, and when I looked back at him and went on the motorcycle that I borrowed from the family, took him back to the shop who had done the translating, I asked him what he think. He said I could read what he was saying. Anyway, I don't know what it was. I get back in the car and needed to go take that back to Bangkok, and she's in Pattaya. We're not speaking because I can't call her because she's not answering, so I'm driving back to Bangkok, and she called and she said, I can't believe you go to my family. And I said, well, I can't believe you're lying to me about something. She said, I'm not lying, I stay with my aunt. I said, okay, I'll come to Pattaya then. She said, okay. She actually said, okay, come to Pattaya. Then I get to Bangkok and I call her and she said, oh, I come back to Bangkok already. My aunt not want me to stay anymore because not want me to have problem with you. I came back to Bangkok. She came back and I knew something was wrong. At this point, I knew 100% that something was wrong. I could tell. What it was, though, I still didn't know. But basically, you think at the time I didn't think this, but looking back, she had lots of sponsors who were sending her money. And, when she had to go and meet them when they were in Thailand. I didn't know that was a thing at the time. Even for a second, I wouldn't have imagined that. But she's coming back. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise. I just said, my family. I should have told you my aunt. If I have a problem with my aunt, I need to go and see her. I have to go by myself because she has a very tiny room and we cannot live together. I said, well, we can spend a bit of money for a hotel. And she said, no, we're saving for the house and this has been going on for a bit longer. And I just thought about, the only thing I could do. I knew something was wrong, and whatever it was, I didn't want to believe the fact that she was doing what she was doing. And I suppose I knew it deep down. And I just tried to convince myself that it wasn't wrong. And I allowed myself to be completely oblivious to that. Or stupid, or both. As the inevitable happened, a couple of months later, she was going off to see her aunt again, this time again in Pattaya. And I didn't know what to do because I wanted to catch her and actually find out what she was doing. So I just thought the only thing I could do was follow her. I always took her to the bus station in Ekamai and saw her off. Just saw her get on the bus and this time the same thing happened. All of this time I was watching the bus. Is she on it? Is she not? So, is she going to Pattaya? And I was just confused. Just as I was about to turn around, and the bus was about to turn out of the Tide Road, when you get out of the bus station onto the road, onto Sukhumvit Road, I'm confused because she was still on it. What's she doing? But she literally got off the bus. And when it comes out of the bus station in Ekamai waiting for the traffic lights, she was on it. And it was going, but then she got off, just like that, as if she wasn't even meant to be on there. Then she goes up to the BTS and I'm trying my best to follow her and get on the same SkyTrain, and I thought I'd lost her for a second, but I didn't. Then she goes to Nana, and I'm thinking this can't be good. I'm starting to think something's going wrong. She gets off the train, I get off the train, I follow her. She walks into this little bar right next to the BTS station in Nana. It wasn't like a bar where girls worked as such, though she walks in and immediately I see a guy in the distance. She's embraced by this guy, and then I see them kiss a bit, and I'm watching, having a drink, still watching, holding it in, trying to make sure that I don't lose it straight away. Then not long later, they walked hand in hand, and they went into this hotel on Sukhumvit Soy 8, and when they did that, I ran as quickly as I could to catch up, and I caught her with this guy as they were just about to go in the elevator up to the room. What's going on? This guy says, who are you? Don't talk to my girlfriend, he said, and I said, she's my wife. He's like, what? She's my girlfriend. I said money to her. I'm just here for a week, and well, that's when it all fell apart, and that's when it all came to a head about what was actually going on. She'd been basically cheating on me behind my back with guys who thought they were the only ones sending money to her. I don't know how many sponsors she had, I don't know anything, though obviously it must have been a lot because she was always off doing this. And he was caught in the act, and it wasn't like she even bothered. She just said, I have to help family. That I said, I've seen your family, they're nice people. No, I have to help family. She said, I have this problem, I have to do this, I have to do that. And well, I don't know what it was, but that guy wanted nothing more to do with her, and she's saying to me, how you do to me. I need this. I don't know what she was saying, though. It was like she was a different person entirely. It's like I don't know who she is anymore. It's like my whole world's come crashing down, and I'm trying to say, let's go back and talk about this. She says, no, I can't believe you do this to me. I not do problem to you, and it's just all this nonsense stuff, and she wouldn't go back to the room. I'm thinking, well, that was when it actually hit me. I've just given all that money to the family. Perhaps they didn't want the money. Perhaps it was her pickup. Perhaps when they were speaking about things, she was the one getting the money. Perhaps that's what she was there for, just to try to make money. I don't know. I had no idea. She wouldn't go back to the room with me, though, and I'm there in the room just working out everything that's gone wrong, picturing everything, and putting everything together and thinking, this is just completely crazy. I've just lost all this money. I'm married. Well, I'm not actually married because it's not legal. The village ceremony, and this whole thing just come crashing down, and I destroyed my life. That's what I'm thinking. Then a couple of hours later, she has come back saying she was sorry. She didn't mean to do it. She didn't want to take too much money from me and all that. She was trying to tell me not to worry about it and forget about it, and she nearly convinced me. Then the phone rang, and it was that guy saying, well, maybe you can come and see me, and she's like, no, I can't, though she was still speaking to him. That was when it really hit me, and she'd basically taken all my money. Basically, everything had gone wrong. She didn't care about me, she didn't love me, and she was just a dream for what I had, not a dream for me, and it destroyed me. She just said, okay, no problem, when I told her I didn't want her. It wasn't like she was upset or anything, just it was like it was a transaction. No, I'm not interested, and she left. I was just sitting there thinking to myself, what has gone wrong? Thinking to my first wife, thinking, was it really that bad? Well, yes, it was, but just not as bad as this. From there, I felt and contemplated things, worked for a bit longer, and to try to not be able to think about what the future I could build would be like. All that money had gone, everything was gone, and that's when I returned home completely broken. Never spoke to my family again or anything, and I found another job and got back on with life, though that was what happened to me in Thailand. Scammed, basically. Played like a fool. She gave me my dream girl, though. She wasn't my dream girl because everything she was doing wasn't for me. It was for what I had to get out of me while doing it with other guys at the same time. That was what happened to me in Thailand. It completely destroyed me. Absolute destruction of a life, and it was devastating to think about because I still relive it every day, and I still wish I could live that dream, but I can't. It's been a number of years since then. I've not found another relationship since, and I don't want one because I can't trust women from now. My first wife didn't do anything like that to me, though she didn't give me excitement or happiness. My second wife, who wasn't my real wife, my Thai wife again, not real because we didn't marry legally, she gave me my dream, just it wasn't my dream, because my dream was exactly like that, just she was doing what she was doing for love, not though. That's the thing, if she was doing it for love it would have been real, but she wasn't, she was doing it for money. Just be very careful in Thailand, guys, there are so many girls there, here, have so many sponsors that you wouldn't even believe, and of course, that's what she was doing, and it ruined my life, and my life is still ruined because of it. And I don't know if I'll ever get over it, because I still think about the good times I had with her. I still think about the dreams that came true with her, and I wish I could be having that now, knowing that I can't, knowing I will never have that again. That's why this hurts as much as it does.